because you give yourself to God in that morning time and you get the freshness, you get to access the unlimited. And the unlimited is where your breakthrough is. The unlimited is where your miracles are coming from. And anything that hasn't manifested in your life, where do you think it's going to come from? It's going to come from the ethers. It's going to come from those higher planes. What's up, Queens? So looking forward to being with you today. Hello from England. I am in the English countryside in my little Airbnb abode here. Been doing some traveling. Hope those of you in the US had a great Labor Day weekend, and really excited to be in like sweater weather back to school mode. My friends, it's actually been sort of warm here, and they're like, why are you buying sweaters? I'm like, I've been living in Miami in the heat of New York City. I'm over summer. I'm ready for sweaters and warm drinks and fires and the whole thing. So England is delivering. It rained today. Like, I'm like so happy to be kind of like chilled. And I think the church next to me is like from like 680 AD or something. I'm like, it's a whole new world over here. So I'm really excited to round this year out. It is been such an extraordinary time on so many different levels. And there's been this, I don't know if you felt it, but this like touch and go, in and out, up and down, all around. Like, it's been, and some things felt like molasses for so long. And then I don't know, but like August seemed to like speed up, and I'm just really getting anchored in who I'm choosing to be between now and the end of the year. And I think that we all can almost do a little bit of a spiritual bypass with some of our bigger dreams and goals and say, well, I'll start in January. It's like, it's the kind of that phase where you're like, you can kind of play that little game with yourself. If you're like, I don't really know if I can do that by the end of the year, so I'll just start fresh in January. It's been a tough year with all of our pandemic situationness, and we are queens. So I'm going to invite you to not prolong your dreams. I'm going to invite you to remember that you have the power and the ability to bend time and space. And it's not about it taking more time. It's about law of least action and really getting into what if you could do in the last 4 months of the year what you haven't done all year, what you've procrastinated on, what didn't seem to work, where there maybe seemed like roadblocks. What if your life depended on it? And I'm not using scare tactics. I'm just like, what if you really had to? Like, what if you hitting your financial goals? What if you getting that breakthrough? What if you creating that collaboration? What if the thing or a couple of those goals that you had that you were just so excited about at the beginning of the year, or maybe they've been lingering for years now because of the state of the world. What if you could actually complete it this year? I know I've got a couple that's going to take some real, like, here it is, right? Like, it kept putting off the deadline, kept putting off the timeline. And the way that I know that I'm not meant to push it into January is because I don't actually feel a sense of relief. You know, I'm not going to go into guilt. I wouldn't feel guilty about it. I don't guilt myself anymore. However, I know I've got this. It's going to take a different mindset, because if I had the mindset for it, it would be manifested by now. And yet there's 4 solid, precious, huge months ahead of us. And I'm ready. I think that there was a lot of preparation and some of the slowness and some of the stickiness and some of when it didn't feel like anything was even moving. And yet we weren't not working on ourselves. We weren't not reading the books. We weren't not meditating. We weren't not showing up here. And it counts. You know, the universe has eyes, and those times when you might have been harder on yourself or thinking you weren't doing enough, every time you made your best right choice for you, every time you did show up, every time you slowed down to listen to the whispers that were coming in, or you didn't base a decision on logic, but you based it on intuition, or you took a risk on behalf of yourself, not knowing how it was going to really work out. Universe was watching. It was like, yes, queen, yes, this is like, look at her go. She's being prepared for greatness. You have been prepared for greatness. So I want you to open up to your bigness over these next 4 months. It's 4, it's not even 3, and it's not 2. The miracles can happen in way less amount of time than 4 big, beautiful months. And I notice when things really change and shift for me is when I'm there for me, which means I have to safeguard my time. I have to safeguard my mornings. If I don't meditate, journal, read, and work out as the first 4 things in addition to coffee that I do in the morning, no, never happens. I don't know about you. I've never gotten an afternoon workout in my life. In evening meditation, it's called going to sleep early. Like, it doesn't happen. Just, it doesn't happen. But if you set yourself up, and it probably won't just happen. Like, you're going to need to be intentional about it. I don't want you to be overly rigorous or extreme, but really intentional. Like, you know, I'm not going to plan calls, or I'm not going to plan my schedule or meetings or whatever it is. I'm not going to plan flights or like whatever could get in the way of that morning time, because you give yourself to God in that morning time and you get the freshness, you get to access the unlimited. And the unlimited is where your breakthrough is. The unlimited is where your miracles are coming from. And anything that hasn't manifested in your life, where do you think it's going to come from? It's going to come from the ethers. It's going to come from those higher planes. So any amount of like, well, I'm too busy for that, I don't have time. What are we saying? We know too much to know you being busy during your day isn't going to get you there. It's just not. So I want you to open yourself up to the notion of you have what it takes to create some really significant transformation in these next 4 months. And if you show up for yourself differently, and it's not popular typically, this means this is like a woman taking time for herself. This is a woman setting a boundary. This is a woman saying no. This is a woman being less available to others and more available for herself. You're going to see that the shift's made. You're going to see the new insights come in. You're going to see yourself showing up in ways that are different, because you're now being given guidance at an entirely different level also. So that's pretty exciting to let yourself tap into, wow, there's still time. There's still opportunity. There's still the manifestation. I'm not just talking breakthrough. I'm talking the actual manifestation that you get to bring down from the realms that it's in right now. Because we know every ask has been given on the spiritual level. It's ask and it is given. Well, it's you ask, that's your job. It's been done on the spiritual realm. That's God's job. Then our job is we must be the vibrational match for what we have declared we desire. And when you pray for this, I don't want you to pray like you're begging. I want you to pray like you're declaring this manifestation, declaring it is already done, declaring and this too shall happen, declaring that this is happening no matter what, taking your power and really impressing in to the universe Like, this is mine, this is my time, this is what I'm here for, this is how I'm meant to show up, this is how I'm meant to contribute, letting my good come to me, and getting really great at receiving. The new manifestations will not come in from the old consciousness. You know, it's like they say that you can't sew new cloth onto old garments. And when you really, you can't have your old limited fear-based, I really hope it happens mentality or thinking, and have the new manifestation come in. So that's why this time in the morning is your time to create the new consciousness, the time to, I don't know how else to say it, access the infinite. It was so interesting. Yes, so I'm on my travels and I'm so committed to like being in the flow. Glenn doesn't even call me Gina anymore. He's like, hey, Flo, how's it going? Any news on where the flow will be today or this week? Like he's been such a rock star, so supportive. And I got 3 more weeks in September of like me being in the flow before he shows up. And I was like, I don't know, I could do this, I could do that, I could go here, I could go there. Like all this stuff was rumbling around. I had friends like in all different places saying like invitations, and it all felt sort of jumbled. And I just prayed and I said, show me where I'm meant to be. So it wasn't like, well, it wasn't that begging kind of a prayer. It was a declaration, like, I'm not deciding, make it clear, show me the way. And I got up today and did my morning routine. I came downstairs here, made my coffee, and I sat down with my journal. And before I even journaled, I like felt my mind rearranged. And it was like everything that like wasn't working, all of a sudden the puzzle pieces came together. And it just felt so good. It felt so grounded. I felt so supported that it wasn't Gina thinking it up. And I think there's too many women right now that where society has conditioned us, and especially you mothers, I have so much compassion for you, especially you mothers, where it's like it's never enough, right? And you've got to figure everything else, and you've got to manage everything else. Something really cool just happened. So I'm staying at this Airbnb, and there's like this really nice dude who said, I hope you don't mind, I just have some scraping work to do. And he was going to like cement something or whatever. And I was like, right now, I'm recording a Zoom call. And he's like, well, let me do some right now. And let me see if you are going to hear it. And it wasn't that loud, but anyone who knows me knows how sensitive I am to noise, because this is all like a download. And I just like want to be here and so present for you all. And I was like, he needs to do his work. It wasn't terrible. Like, Gina, just focus. Gina, just focus, do it. It just started to rain. I could hear a little bit of like the scraping or whatever. Now he's like, I'm not laughing that he has to pack his things up. I'm dazzled by the divine on how supported we actually are when we let ourselves get great at receiving. Like, I was going to settle for having a little bit of scraping going on. It wasn't terrible. Gina, you're a professional, you can handle this. But apparently God knew that I would be a lot more at ease in my body, not having to quite concentrate so hard if there wasn't a little scraping going on. So it's miracles like that. You know, we're looking for the big ones and the small ones and the in-between ones. And I find the more I'm conditioning myself to look for God everywhere. Here's what I was saying. All these moms that I'm around and all these women that I'm seeing, like, have it on them, like they got to make these business decisions and they got to make these children decisions and schooling decisions and all this stuff. It's so heavy. And like, I'm seeing like women even younger than me, and like, they're just like, faces kind of look like they've like been through the ringer. I can just see the stress now in a different way than I didn't before. And I want all of this to be a reminder. You are loved, you are supported. And when you let yourself get back into the miraculous dynamic and the way life is meant to be lived, you draw it to you and you bring it to you, and decisions get made for you, and the way becomes clear and the guidance becomes obvious. And that lets us get really great at being feminine, great at receiving, great at enjoying life, great at making decisions that feel really good in our body. When we feel good in our body, then we're more playful and we're more open. The divine is there for you. And I feel like it's a resource that we don't access enough. Like we're going more into our brains than we're going into the cosmos. And when you allow yourself to just be a little more curious, God, what else you got for me? Like, what if I did it a little bit differently? And, I can see with the way that I'm playing with the divine right now, like when I say playing with, I mean like dancing. The old way of thinking what came up, like there were some things that I probably should have done today. Probably should have posted a little more social media. I probably should have done a podcast episode because I haven't done one in a while. And my girlfriend here called me and she's like, hey, Gina, I'm going to go to this place and like do like a swim and a soak and a sauna this morning. I've got some calls this afternoon, but do you want to come with me? Let's see. Do I want to go into the English countryside, have a cappuccino, hang out in a steam room, go for a swim, and then come back and get on my calls? Yes. Yes, actually I do. Yes. And my mind was like, Gina, you've been playing so much. You've been traveling in London. You need to. And I was like, do I? Or do I get to get great at living and enjoying life? And I can just feel the more I'm saying yes to pleasure. I'm not being negligent. I'm not showing up for client calls. And it's like, I haven't done a podcast in a week. Like, what's one more day? But I could just, that invitation came in and it felt really juicy to say yes to it. And I think that part of it wasn't just about me in the steam room and having a great, whatever today is, Tuesday. Was that what we're at, Tuesday morning? I think I saw all these moms there and I just saw more of what they were navigating. And I feel like it can be, I will never know, hopefully never know what it's like to be a biological mother. And I feel like I have a greater depth of a sliver of an understanding so that I can speak this message that we get to give more of it to God. We get to lean on God more. We get to seek those answers more. And I just know for me, if I don't safeguard that time in the morning, I go spiritually deaf a bit. Like I don't hear it as well. It takes me longer. I start to actually believe that I'm in charge or that it's my responsibility. And there's so many more mystical ways to live through prayer, through meditation. And it's not that I don't do work. I mean, I'm on 6 or 7 hours worth of calls today. Like, I'm not just hanging poolside, but I'm also not stressed. I mean, are you feeling dragging energy from me? Where am I at? Is this my 4th or 5th hour of calls today, Jeremy? I'm not sure. Like I feel vibrant and fresh. And I just know it's because I'm giving myself all of my desires so that I can then show up and give even more. And there have been times when, just doing all this I wasn't as vibrant. So I want you to really take a look at, where can you allow more of the mystical into your life? How is that going to show up for you? And in what area of your life are you craving it more? Is it with your money? Is it with love and romance? Is it with your body? Is it with confidence? Is it getting clarity on direction? Like where is it at for you? Because I know the mystical wants to come in and dazzle you just as much as I'm enjoying it also. it requires a higher tolerance for the unknown. I will say that. Um, yesterday when I was driving out of London into the countryside, and I was like, I could feel the old me just like, I wish I knew where I was going to be living even Friday. Like, like I was starting to like, I want to plan. And the feminine queen part of me was like, Gina, you asked to go on this feminine adventure. And there's this tug of war that goes on between being practical and reasonable and planning it all out and making it happen and leaving room for the miraculous. And I'm just so committed to seeing, I used to say, how good are you going to let your life get? And for me, that meant like, how abundant is your business going to be? And how many cool trips can you go on? Like, how kind of, in general, abundant, are you going to let your life get? And now it's gone to a much deeper level. It's the mystical experience that I'm chasing even more of now. It doesn't mean that the financial abundance isn't coming in. It's coming in even more. Ironically, when it's not the biggest focal point. My biggest focal point used to be like, how can I get to 10K months? How can I get to 6 figures? How can I get to 7 figures? And for me, and then I saw a lot of my friends, like they kept riding that train. How can I get to 8 figures? How can I go public? How can I? And for me, at this point in my life, multiple 7 figures, I'm good with it. Like it wasn't the question that not that I want to stop growing financially. It's not the point. It's not the question I wanted to ask at the beginning of the day. I mean, at the very beginning of my career, I was like, how can I get my next client? And I guess, and if anyone's in that spot, it serves its purpose, but I want you to keep going and not give up, because the higher consciousness is way more fun. And those of you that want to like do a quantum leap in consciousness, do it and go there. Is waking up and asking, where's my life meant to be guided today? And then actually seeing evidence of the guidance. I don't know what's going to come of this. And I probably say things here too early than I should, but it's just, I'm giving you a day in the life if you're all okay with that. I used to be a lot more like, no, I'll tell them about it after it happened. Now I'm like, hey, you're here with me. Might as well see what like a day in the life of Glenn is. So I was with a friend recently, and we in London even, and she kind of randomly at the end of it, she's like, well, you're on this solo trip, Gina. And she's like, I have a house in Ibiza, if you want to go visit it, if you want to stay there, you're welcome to. As the queen who's like, get great at receiving, I was like, oh, I could never, it was like, and I was like, oh, well, thanks so much. I don't really have any plans on going to Ibiza. Meanwhile, one of my prayers has been, I love the places I'm going, and I've been to all these places. Like I'm visiting friends. I've been here before. I've not been to Ibiza, but so it comes in, I'm like, I won't receive this generous offer of like, can I stay at her house? Or I asked like the offer to stay at her house. And then I've also already said to the universe, I want to go somewhere new on this trip. Haven't been to Ibiza. Yesterday, as I'm driving out here, I get a text from a friend in the States saying, hey, Gina, it's my 50th birthday in 2 weeks. I'm meeting so-and-so and so-and-so in Ibiza. Do you want to come? And I'm like, this is how fun and clear you're like how unavailable to the divine would I have to be like, no, I'm not going to accept the offer to stay at your home. I'm not going to show up for your 50th birthday. I'm not going to go somewhere new. It's just like click, 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 click. I just want all of us to experience this sweetness in life being guided. And if I would have gone and pre-planned my trip, there's no way that would have been on the agenda. And so I say all of this to say, it takes a lot of faith to be available for the unknown, because the timing doesn't come with an Excel spreadsheet and a pre-plan. but it does come with a daily dazzle. I can tell you that much. And I can feel myself training myself to be more present, live more in the moment, listen to the taps on the shoulders. And it's a softer, sweeter, gentler way of life. And it's not just a nice feeling, you know, everything is working. There's, you know, more people than ever in the Q Club. My new mastermind has just launched, like glorious souls are signing up for that, like in beautiful abundance. So it's like there's a membership that I was going for. It literally for years that just came through, like all this, the actual evidence of going to God versus forcing it or making it happen on my own. It's really here. So I hope this has been an inspiration. And I know that if you harness, well, first of all, if you take a look at these last 4 months of the year and you really infuse it with spirit, with the feminine, with the unknown, with the quantum leaps, with the not having to be the one to like figure it all out, but allow for more magic, more, not magic, more miracles, more mystical in your life, you're going to start to see just beautiful, beautiful synchronicities show up in your life. All right, so let's just all say a prayer together. Dear God, we thank you for this present day, and we thank you for the glorious 4 remaining months of this year. And I pray over each and every woman listening, may we be lifted into your consciousness so that our lives can be used at the highest level. Continue to dazzle us and show us how, in fact, we can. Show us how what we haven't manifested this entire year, show us how it can still happen before this year closes out. Show us that whatever limiting beliefs, excuses, fear-based thoughts that we had that said, it's too hard, it's going to take too long, it's not happening. Show us how, in fact, it can, because we are aligned with you. Show us more evidence of what it means to have faith. Show us how to give ourselves more permission to live in the feminine so that we can be who we're meant to be in this world. And we pray all of this believing, amen, amen, amen.